Hello, everyone. This is JY from Abona Tennis Online Coaching. Thank you for joining me on this journey where I try to help players and junior tennis parents figure out how to go about their tennis development process. Selfishly, I also get a lot out of this because I learn new things along the way and I get to share those things. So thanks for listening, and please reach out to me at any time with questions or comments. You can reach out to me through my website at www.abonetennis.com. That's AUBONE tennis.com. And this week, we're going to be talking about one of my most recent blogs titled Appropriate Tournament Scheduling Matters. And I think the reason why I wrote this is I'm always trying to figure out, okay, what can we do that's under our control realistically, no matter what our scenario is, whether we are homeschooling, in school, a normal adult just playing tournaments whenever we're not working. What can we do that's under our control that can help us prepare to give us the best chance possible to perform at our best when it matters? And scheduling is one of those things. And if scheduling isn't handled appropriately, then a player isn't going to be prepared to play well. And the worst part is, if a player doesn't know what constitutes an appropriate tournament schedule, they're going to have incorrectly high expectations going into an event. And they're going to be all excited as they're playing their first tournament in a while. They've practiced a lot. They think they're ready to compete, and bam! They experience nerves under pressure for the first time in weeks, sometimes even months, because we've gone too long without playing. And the odds are they're going to struggle. And they're thinking that it's them that's not playing well. They don't have the skills and their practice went to waste. But in reality, it wasn't them at all. It was their preparation. It's their first tournament in a long time. It's actually normal. All right. Tournaments bring nerves and emotions that can't be recreated in practice. There's nothing that a coach can do that brings about the feeling of knowing when something is live and on the line and it's real. You can play for as much money as you want, any type of punishment you want against your friend. And yes, you're going to feel things. You're going to feel that desire to want to win and that anxiety to not lose, but it's just not the same. And that's why, being able to compete under these emotions is a skill that needs to be practiced just like a forehand. It requires repetitions. And the best way to go about that is get more repetitions is by playing more tournaments. And if we can do that within a certain type of format, then we can be prepared to play our best tennis. And that basic type of format, that basic type of scheduling is train for 3 to 4 weeks, play 2 to 3 tournaments in a row, with the last tournament being the most important one. So now you've had 3 to 4 weeks of training, 1 to 2 weeks of tournament schedule, tournament play, and matches and experience, and you get to see where you're executing well and where you're not under those emotions. So by the time you get to that third tournament in a row, you're into a nice rhythm. You have a lot of practice under those feelings, and you have a better idea of how to execute under pressure. And you train for 1 to 2 weeks, working on the things that happen in those tournaments. Then you go back out and you play again for 2 to 4 tournaments in a row, with the last 1 or 2 tournaments being the most important ones. If you're only playing 3 weeks in a row, then you want to try to make that third tournament the most important one. If you're playing 4, then you want your first 2 to be some lower level ones, the last 2 being, the highest level, biggest ones, the ones that you really want to do best at. Then you take 4 to 6 days off, because rest is part of the process, okay? You might feel physically fresh, but mentally, after investing that amount of time, that many weekends, playing under all those nerves, it's tiring. And we need to give ourselves a break. And we need our mind to recover. We need to go and take a few days off and do the other things that we love to do, spend time with family, friends, but also let the body recover. And so that then when we come back and play again, we've had the time to do our other things. We don't feel like tennis is taking over our life. And now physically and mentally, we're ready to build on top of what we just learned for the last 2 to 3 months of doing all this. So, and the biggest thing within all this format is the first 1 and 2 tournaments when you start playing again, within that schedule, is that first 1 to 2 tournaments, there are really no expectations. Just because you've practiced for a few weeks and you might have been playing great, don't expect too much. You obviously want to do well, but the thing is, you haven't played under those emotions. So that first week or two is just, we call them warm up events. If you think about what the pros do, they always play warm up events leading into the biggest events. If you think about the Australian Open, they have 2 to 3 tournaments before the Australian Open starts. If you think about when they go play in the French Open, there's about 5 to 6 tournaments on clay before the French Open. Wimbledon, about 2 to 3 weeks worth of grass court tournaments. I know a lot of players actually want more, but so they're playing their warm-up events there. At the U.S. Open, you have the U.S. Open Summer Circuit. So you have warm-up events. You start off with your 250s, 500s, Masters, and then you get to the Grand Slam. So the pros are playing warm-up tournaments to get that rust out of the way. They've practiced for a few weeks, so they need some warm-up matches. And then as they move through that schedule, they've had a nice rhythm. They have a lot of information that tells them what they're doing well, what they're not doing well. And so come that Grand Slam, they know exactly, they've had what they're doing well and what they should have been working on, so that if someone tries to expose that weakness, they have a lot of practice underneath it under pressure. So that's why we try to do all this. So, a lot of times we just go in that first 1 or 2 tournaments and you haven't played in 2 months. We think that, you might play bad. And in reality, it's just, you just weren't quite ready because, again, you can't simulate in practice what a tournament feels. So, and I know the biggest part, I already said the biggest part once, but a separate part about this is, and it's what made me write this blog, is, a lot of junior tennis academies, they just throw out this, hey, play 2 tournaments a month. And you get to about 24 tournaments a year, which is for a kid, that's a lot. But I mean, that's a lot of tournament play. That's a lot of practice matches, but they don't really help guide you as to, well, what 2 tournaments? When do I play those 2 tournaments? Because if you're a junior and you play a level 1 as your first tournament, and then the level 4 or 5 as your second one, well, your biggest tournament where you would have loved to have do well was actually your first one. You would have wanted to actually switch that and actually plan ahead to play that level 4 or level 5 before that level 1. So you've had some practice matches against some slightly lower level players. They still might be really good, but it's just not the same as level 1. And so you can at least kind of work your way in a little bit. If you just jump into that level 1, boom, first match in, you have some really tough matches as you're trying to figure out, how do I manage my emotions through all of this? So that's why you don't want to just say just 2 a month. You want to plan about 3 to 4 months in advance, because you also want to see, what do I have on my schedule that is going to prevent me from having the smoothest type of work up to that big event? Are there any exams, any vacations, any work events, and anything like that, any birthday parties that you want to go to? That stuff matters to us. We want to be able to do that stuff, because if we only do tennis all the time, then it's just, we're going to feel like we have no lives. And that's for most people, that stuff. For some, they love that. But for most people, that's where they can hit burnout. So you want to plan ahead 3 to 4 months, so that if you're going to miss a tournament, well, what can I do? Can I add in an extra tournament? Okay, I wanted to play only 2 to 3 tournaments in a row, but can I play 4 here? Because then I'm not going to play for a month. And I want to make up for that early. And then when I have that thing, that birthday party, that vacation, I don't feel like I'm missing out on tennis. Like, oh my gosh. And you don't feel that pressure to actually not be there and be playing. You actually feel like, hey, I've earned my time off. This is the right thing to do. My rest is happening at a time where not only am I recovering, but I'm doing actually what I wanted to do. Because if you plan that incorrectly, you're now taking vacation at a time that you shouldn't have been. Then you have a birthday party that you really wanted to go to, or a work event that you had to be at. Now you're missing even more time. And the next thing you know, 2 months later, you look back and you've only played 1 tournament. And now all these tournaments are coming up again. You're like, man, I just haven't been able to play enough. So I know it takes a little bit more planning, but at the end of it, not only will you be happier because you've scheduled your life in a manner where you're able to do the things that you want, but you're going to be much better prepared to play your best tennis at the best time. So that's what we're looking for. So get ahead, plan all this. Don't stick to just 2 tournaments a month. Work your way up. Repeat the format one more time. So train 3 to 4 weeks. Play 2 to 3 tournaments in a row. Train for 1 to 2 weeks. Play 2 to 4 tournaments in a row again. Then 4 to 6 days off. I would say at least 3 off of everything. No fitness, no tennis. Then do some light fitness for 1 to 2 days to get your body prepared to then bam, start again with training for 3 to 4 weeks and hit it hard so you can build on everything that you learned before. So let me know if you have any questions. Again, reach out to me through my website, obonatennis.com. And if you have any questions with trying to schedule your tournaments, and maybe I can help. So thanks again for listening.